Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning to our family, our village keepers on YouTube. Good morning, Adajoke, all the way from Italy. My goodness. May you continue to enjoy yourself, be protected, surrounded by our ancestors. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning. Thank you for tuning in all the way from Italy. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, Natasha. Good morning, Tanya Denise. Good morning, Marilyn. Good morning, Michael. Good morning. Good morning. I would invite you all, if you are on Facebook and you can share, please share this. Please like and engage. For the algo, good morning. Tell us good morning. Tell us where you are viewing from. Good morning. Hit like and share it. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Rihanna. Good morning, Free. Good morning, Roslyn. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning to each of you. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning to our family on Facebook. Good morning, Shani. Good morning. Good morning, Sonia. Yes, prayer request, light a candle, say a prayer for your brother-in-law's mother who transitioned on Friday. Ashe, good morning. Good morning, Eric. Good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning. Good morning. Oh, it's pinned. Ashe. Okay. Good morning, good morning. I imagine some folks may still be, or no, you should be ahead of time, not behind time. You know, the clocks, we sprang forward, and I'm so glad to spring forward. Oh, my goodness. I'm a spring baby. I love spring. My whole attitude shifts and changes. And I'm just thankful, thankful that we have shifted, Ashe, and made it out of. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning. Come on in the room, room. Good morning. Good morning, good morning. I'm just, good morning. My thing keeps moving. What is going on? I want to thank those of you who have given to our daughter, our youngest daughter's Miss Juneteenth campaign. She is raising scholarship funds while we do have one daughter who is a senior and who is preparing for school, and we thank you for how you aided her in raising her scholarship funds through the Jabberwock program through Delta Sigma Theta Sorority in 2025. Phoenix has begun her venture through Miss Juneteenth, and then we'll do Jabberwock in 2027. 2026, though, she is a contestant number 14, Phoenix Sampson Young, who is running for Miss Juneteenth here in Winston-Salem. And part of the way that they get their scholarship funds is to raise those funds from the community, by which they get 50% of what they raise. And so Phoenix has set a goal of 6,000. Really, that's our initial goal. Overall, it's 10. But you all have been giving, and so she's about maybe almost 60% there. So I'm going to drop the link here just in case there are those of you who want to give So we're probably at about needing 5, 6, yeah, about 20 people who can sow $100 into this baby's campaign. I've put the link right here. Or your best gift, amen, or a gift. A best is subjective to you. And I put it here on Facebook, and I'm putting it here in YouTube. And we thank you in advance for sowing in to these young people. Yeah, Ashe. Also, let me make another announcement. If you are in Georgia, please consider, if you are in the state of Georgia, even if you're not in the state of Georgia and you just want to volunteer for the campaign, I want to invite you to join Judge Penny Brown Reynolds in her campaign, Penny for Georgia, who is running to be Georgia's next Secretary of State. Georgia is an extremely important state. You will recall a few years ago when the state was turned blue. It was extremely important in electing two Democratic senators to the Senate. It is a very strategic and important state. And if you don't know, the position of Secretary of State is extremely important, not simply for certifying votes and elections, but also for things like getting business licenses and streamlining processes so that these processes are not cumbersome, but are accessible to all. Judge Penny has over 40 years of experience as a public servant, has been a sitting judge, an attorney, was the first Black woman attorney for any governor, but for the governor of the state of Georgia, former Governor Roy Barnes, was appointed under the Biden administration as the Assistant Secretary of Civil Rights in the Department of Agriculture, and is a down home Louisiana woman. She is also an ordained minister and has earned her PhD. And so it should go without saying that she is an extremely important person to us. She is a valued member of our community, a spiritual parent, a confidant, and wise counsel to me personally, and I ride for her. And so, as I consider Georgia one of my ancestral grounds, for which my maternal and paternal lineage begins on these shores, I invite you, those of you who have time, to volunteer for her phone bank. Yesterday, 1,000 people were called, voters were called, from people who volunteered just to make a few calls for about an hour or so. So I hope that you would consider that. I'll say more about her race and what she's doing in a few minutes. But I hope that you would consider, those of you who have time and space, please consider volunteering for her campaign. Ashe. Also, I want to remind you to save the date. Save the dates, June 25th through the 27th, 2026, for the One Love Festival. June 25th through the 27th for the One Love Festival and the Restoring Institute. That will be here in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Collaborative partners, the Faith Compass Center, Wake Forest University School of Divinity, the Sacred Memory Project at McCormick Theological Seminary. And shout out to Visit Winston-Salem, other collaborative partners that are working with us in various areas, and we thank them for their partnership. We are finalizing our program, and I can share that our theme this year is Weaving New Worlds, about kindred abundance and communal imaginaries. Weaving New Worlds about kindred abundance and new imaginaries, a big theme focus on our wellness. And so we are looking forward to having you all come. We do have a hotel block that I will be releasing this week. week to you all, for those of you who plan on coming, so that you can go ahead and book your rooms and get what you need right now. Amen, Ashe. And we want you to even go ahead and start purchasing your tickets for the concert. And even if you say, well, I don't know who's coming yet, but we do. And so we need you to get your tickets, Ashe, so that we can get what we need to go ahead and finish up booking those people. Amen and Ashe. Also, please, has been time for you to pre-order my book. Yes, the Pink Robe Chronicles. I was gonna do this probably in a different kind of wow way, which I probably still will. But I want to invite you now, Natasha, if you are able, would you drop one of the links? You can purchase this. According to where you purchase books, some of you purchase it from Thrift Books, some of you purchase from Barnes and Noble, some of you purchase from Amazon. It should be everywhere that you purchase books right now. I am showing you the front and the back cover. This is before I only revealed to you the front cover. Right now I am revealing to you the front and the back cover of this beautiful, beautiful book, this text, this timely, powerful womanist meditation on voice, faith, and healing. Shout out to those who have endorsed this work. This work, for whom I am greatly indebted. To Cole Arthur Riley, thank you. To Ebony Janice Moore, thank you. To Monica A. Coleman, thank you. To Candace Marie Bimbo, thank you. And to Corey D.B. Walker, thank you. And of course, thank you to Trisha Hersey, who has written the foreword. I am really excited about this offering. Extremely excited. It is a dream come true. It is my first book, and decidedly my first book is a trade book, and I'm just really, really excited. I need you to purchase your copy. Go ahead and pre-order now, and I need you to spread the word. Shout out to Payne Theological Seminary, who showcased me last week for Women's History Month and this timely book. I put it in, there's a group called Black Girls Read, and they were looking for reads along the line of Eat, Pray, Love. I won't suggest that this is a Eat, Pray, Love kind of read. However, but if you like honest, open conversation, reflective, deeply reflective, raw, then this is the text. This is the text for you. So do me love, show me love, and go ahead and please order this text. Those are the announcements that I have right now at this moment. Ashe. I see 25 people on here and I don't see 25 likes. Share, like, say hey. Y'all know it's rude to come into people's house and don't say hello. Say hello. Tell us you're here. Tell us you are here. Good morning. Good morning, Misha. Ready to reserve your room. All right. Ashe. I know that's right. Hey, Angie. Yes. And if you've not been, y'all, stop, being, well, just come. Just come. Come. It's one thing to support online and it's to say, that's my pastor. I love Pink Robe Chronicles. That's my community. And then we don't see you when we have in-person gatherings. So this is our in-person gathering, and we want to see you here. Ashe. June 25th through 27th. Mark it on your calendars right now. Mark it on your calendars right now. Good morning, y'all. Come on in. Friends, nation against nation. This world is at war. Empires are flexing their military might. Bombs are falling in sacred seasons. economies trembling under the weight of greed and conflict, and fuel is rising. Food is rising, rent is rising. I opened our electric bill this weekend and it was $676. And I'm trying to figure out where and when. I'm looking saying how. I'm looking saying no way. I'm saying the snowstorm that shut us down for 2 weeks can't be no way. This surging of prices. And here in the U.S., people losing jobs, losing homes, losing the fragile stability they fought so hard to build. The environmental ecology is groaning. The earth itself is testifying. Storms are stronger, fires are hotter, and waters are rising. That scripture in Romans 8 that says the whole creation is groaning. And friends, village keepers, this groaning is no longer a metaphor, nor has it ever been, but really this groaning is a sound of crisis. And we must be clear today. This crisis is not accidental. This crisis is political. It is economic. It is ideological. It is the predictable result of power concentrated in the hands of the unwise, the inexperienced, and the unaccountable. A power-hungry administration, policies shaped by ideology rather than wisdom, leadership without imagination. This is our current context, friends. This is where we are in this exact moment. And in times of war, political confusion, and moral distraction, the task then of this Black liberationist preacher, the task of a community is to tell the truth about empire, reclaim our subversive and creative ways of knowing, and commit ourselves to the sacred duty of fighting for freedom, of loving and protecting one another, and building a future where liberation is not merely imagined, but won. So for the rest of the few moments that are ours, I just want you to think from the thought, it is our duty to win. It is our duty to win. Those of us who labor between the community, the church, and the academy carry a particular responsibility. Our credentials are not ornaments. They are not symbols of assimilation. They are not things to be wielded over or lorded over communities. They are not bragging rights that we use to brag on social media to shame folk who don't know any better. They are tools entrusted to us for a specific purpose, not to replicate Eurocentric models of meaning making and knowledge production, but to preserve, to affirm, and rediscover our own epistemic sites, our own ways of knowing, our ways of being. The intellectual traditions born in hush harbors, praise houses, kitchens, barbershops, freedom schools, juke joints, and front porches. These epistemic traditions are powerful because they are subversive, creative, and innovative. Let me say a word about each. Black epistemic traditions are subversive because they refuse the authority of systems designed to erase us. Enslaved Africans were forbidden to read scripture, yet they developed a hermeneutic. Hermeneutic means interpretation that identified Pharaoh in every empire and Moses in every liberation movement. The Hush Harbor itself was an epistemic site of subversion. Under the cover of darkness, enslaved people created a theological framework that declared God was on the side of the oppressed. Subversive knowledge, village keepers, does not ask empire for permission to exist. Second, though, our traditions, our knowledge traditions are creative. Black epistemology, episteme means knowing, knowledge. Black epistemology has always been creative because survival required imagination. Spirituals encoded escape routes. The ring shout turned worship into resistance. Braiding rice into the hair and cornrowing rice into the hair created maps. Blues theology named sorrow without surrendering joy. Creativity, friends, was not aesthetic indulgence. However, I contend that it was yet another kind of survival technology. It was theology sung, danced, whispered, and shouted into existence. Our third epistemic tradition. Our traditions are not only subversive, not only creative, but they are also innovative. Black innovation is not simply technological, it is communal and strategic. The freedom schools of the civil rights movement were innovative epistemic spaces where ordinary people became political theorists overnight. In our time, Black digital organizing has created new spaces of political education and community formation outside traditional institutions. Innovation emerges when oppressed people refuse the limits that are imposed upon them. This is the intellectual inheritance we carry. And this week, friends, the Black Theological Academy, the Black Church, and Black politics have been shaken up if you've been following on this here internet. First, let's begin with the Black Theological Academy. Let me give you a moment to catch up. Are you with me? Let me catch back up because I lost my space. Amen. I truly lost it. Here we go. Let's begin with the Black Theological Academy. A recent article article reported that Dwight Hopkins, one of the most prominent Black liberation theologians and a student of James Cone, is now a venture capitalist or has been a venture capitalist and has even financially supported Donald Trump's campaign. For many in the Black, catch it, Michael. For many in the Black theological world, this was alarming. Not because intellectual curiosity is wrong. Black thinkers have always debated across ideological lines, but the tension lies in the sharp contradiction between liberation theology and venture capitalism aligned with authoritarian politics. And let me just say, Dr. Dwight Hopkins and others will be at Wake Forest University School of Divinity on March 19th for the Mary Stillman Lectures. I invite you to watch. It will be streamed live. Liberation theology then begins with the poor. Venture capitalism often begins with profit extraction. Liberation theology critiques empire. Trumpism is built on nationalist power consolidation. And to many observers, these commitments are incompatible. So the question being asked across the Black Academy is not merely about one individual. The deeper question is, what happens when liberation language becomes detached from liberation practice? This is a question that really should be troubling for all of us. The next moment that threw our community into crisis last week around the Democratic Democratic participation. Meanwhile, in Texas, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett did not win the Democratic primary for the Senate seat. But the most troubling number is this. In a county with nearly 1 million African Americans, only about 189,000 voted. Of course, they are exhausted. They are exhausted by political betrayal. They see systems that promise change but deliver little. They see politicians appear during election season and disappear afterward. And many have concluded that voting changes nothing. But we must also be clear that not voting cannot be a strategy. Disengagement does not dismantle power. Say it again, Dr. Melva, I will. Disengagement does not dismantle power. It simply surrenders power to those who already hold it. The civil rights movement fought for voting rights because political participation is one of many tools of struggle. It is not the whole struggle, but abandoning it entirely leaves communities vulnerable to policies shaped without their consent. Then there is the race for the Secretary of State in Georgia, whom I already mentioned. Judge Penny Brown Reynolds, a Black woman with over 40 years of public service, is running. She has raised the most money in the race and built a record of advocating for those on the margins. Yet, reports have emerged that a white candidate, a white woman candidate, Dana Barrett, a current Fulton County or Atlanta commissioner, city of Atlanta commissioner, one of those counties, a city commissioner, is being backed by a Black woman with national political reputation, who is also employing local Black women in her campaign, allegedly, paying them $150 as they give her entrance into Black sacred spaces, allegedly. Even walked her into what is a sacred space for Black women called the Black Woman's Lab. Over and before identifying and or inviting the Black woman candidate into the space to talk to the Black women with whom she is aligned. Weeks ago, you may have seen me write a post in response to the Black clergy in Atlanta who invited her in her role as commissioner. Well, not invite, they gave her permission at her request to come to a meeting prior to inviting the Black minister candidate. Come on, somebody. And while folk might say she is coming in her current role, stop doing, we're not going to play semantics. Yeah. This is exactly what is happening. And then when Judge Brown Reynolds sought support from another Black woman, a different Black well-known woman in the area, Roslyn, reportedly, it was suggested that she step aside because she already had too much. This echoes the central argument that I made in my Substack article some months back in 2025. She already has too much. Too educated, too accomplished, too experienced, too visible, done too much already. This pattern, y'all, is unmistakable. And this why we also have to not just be concerned about the politics where we are physically located. We have to be concerned about the politics in every state that requires our attention. This pattern is unmistakable. Kamala Harris was criticized for being too restrained. Jasmine Crockett was criticized and is criticized for being too hood, too outspoken, too much neck rolling, too many eyelash wearing, too many lace fronts. Y'all know what you do. Judge Brown Reynolds being criticized for being too accomplished. And this standard shifts constantly, but the outcome, friends, is the same. Black women's leadership is treated as a threat. And as Malcolm X famously observed, the black woman remains the most disrespected person in America. And at the same time, as the surprise about Hopkins, at the same time as black women are being disregarded, Reverend Jesse Jackson transitioned, and requests for him to lie in state at the U.S. Capitol were denied. Reverend Jamal Bryant responded sharply saying, quote, "The Capitol has become a place filled with pedophiles and podcasters." I could not agree more. Meanwhile, social media erupted on Friday over former President Barack Obama omitting mention of Reverend Dr. Jeremiah Wright, his one-time, long-time pastor and spiritual mentor. And online spaces have been filled with arguments, accusations, and endless commentary. Local politics, national politics, social media battles, shadow boxing, and keyboard couraging everywhere. And I simply have one word for it: distraction. 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 We are in a season of measured revolt. Violence erupted during the holy Muslim season of Ramadan. War called without Congress's approval to a largely Muslim country during their holiest season. And Christians, even those nationalist Christians, and Christians, if those remembered or even knew their own liturgical rhythms, they would recognize this moment too, because the journey toward the cross, aka Lent, is not a passive one for which we are in the middle of. It is what I call a season. Lenten is a season to be considered a measured revolt. For Jesus does not stumble accidentally into crucifixion. Jesus confronts empire. Yeah. Jesus exposes religious systems that collaborate with power. Jesus speaks truth that threatens both Rome and the temple elite. And because of that truth, he carries a cross, which means that those who follow him must be prepared to carry crosses too. Not crosses of private suffering alone, but crosses that come from naming injustice publicly. Our text today, then, friends. Our text comes not from the traditional lectionary, but from the revolutionary woman, Assata Shakur. Assata Shakur was a member of the BLA and a political activist whose life became entangled in the state's repression of Black radical movements in the 1970s. After being convicted in a controversial trial, she escaped prison and eventually received political asylum in Cuba, the same Cuba right now who is experiencing a blackout, being withheld what is needed to live a humane life. To some, she is controversial, but to many in Black liberation traditions, she represents resistance to state violence and the criminalization of Black political struggle. In her letter to my people, she wrote words that continue to echo across generations. Quote, "It is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to win. We must love each other and protect each other. We have nothing to lose but our chains." These words were written in the aftermath of COINTELPRO era, when the U.S. government systematically targeted Black activists, infiltrated organizations, and attempted to dismantle movements for liberation. Distractions. But listen carefully, friends. These words were not written in despair. They were written in clarity. It is our duty to fight for our freedom. Freedom is not gifted by empire, friends, and it ain't free. Instead, it is demanded by those who refuse domination. Fighting today does not only mean armed struggle, it means organizing. It means teaching truth in classrooms. It means protecting voting rights. It means building institutions that sustain Black life. It means refusing to be silent. And it means refusing to fight on this here internet. About things that were planted to distract us. It is our duty to win. Afrofuturism helps us understand this line. Winning is not merely about defeating opponents. Winning is imagining and building a future where Black life flourishes, where our children inherit possibility rather than survival strategies, and where winning is collective thriving. We must love each other. Love in liberation traditions is not sentimental, friends. Love in liberation traditions is action. Fannie Lou loved not just herself, but she loved her people so much that she went down to that courthouse attempting to register to vote, knowing that very well it would mean that her family would become unhoused. My goodness. Love in liberation traditions is not sentimental. Brother Malcolm loved Black folk, so much so that his love was so unrequited that in his speaking truth, he was then silenced by his leader, then excommunicated, and ultimately taken out because of his love and expansion of what love meant, not just for his people, but with people who were also aligned with the love for humanity that loved good and hated evil. Love and liberation traditions, friends, is not sentimental. Bree Newsom loved her people when she climbed up that flagpole in front of the South Carolina State House to take down that flag. Love in liberation traditions is not sentimental. Love looks like mutual aid networks. Love looks like mentoring the next generation. Love looks like refusing the internalized hierarchies that pit Black people against one another. And love cannot be enacted with the master's tools, because domination, friends, I don't care how you color it. I don't care what kind of seasonings you put on it. I don't care how you cook it, whether you slay it, whether you grill it, whether you broil it, whether you boil it, whether you fry it. I don't care. Domination cannot produce, will never produce liberation. So then what must we do? We must protect each other. This means community safety. This means We got to come together and take back our blocks. Oh my goodness. Not just in the hood, but on the hill. This means that we have to advocate for Black women, which includes trans Black women. This means we have to protect and defend our elders. This means we have to protect and build systems of care when these institutions fall and fail, because they are failing and are going to fall. What will be our plan? How will we purify our water? If and when the grid goes, how will we nourish ourselves? This is not the time to gatekeep. And can I say this? This is also not the time to, what is that called? Participate, shout out to my student, Nate Coleman, to participate in doom scrolling, a term I'd never heard. Meaning participate by, you keep posting. There's one thing to post information for people to know what's going on. It's another to do it out of fear and just create kind of hysteria, right? Like every 10 minutes, every 5 minutes, you just poke. Listen. Now is the time for strategic messaging. And if you're posting about what you're doing, one, I would be posting that in a curated kind of space. But if you are, drop links, y'all. Stop posting stuff like this is what I'm doing with no links. Or tell people how they can get at you so that you can then give them the link. That part. Protection also means refusing to allow empire to isolate us from one another. Get out your feelings. Oh, what's that song? Who would Jasmine say? Who sing that? I can't sing like that, man. Come pick up your feelings. Is that what it say? Don't that. That. Pick them up. Listen. Either do the work to get healed or sit this one out. Because you can't be mad and not doing the work to get healed. It can't be everybody's fault. And remember, it's a distraction. Arguing in my Plies voice. Y'all want to argue. And can I say one more thing? Hey, Sora, Stephanie, can I say one more thing? One thing that the internet, social media is doing, has done, it has democratized individual ability to show up in space with limited need for authority, meaning authority, a credential, or having had experience in something. So there's this blogger, I'm not calling her because she is a Black woman. I guess she is news for some. And she constantly is like, as a news reporter. And I just, initially, I think I was like, girl, what? As a news reporter, like, this is gossip. Is this news? However, I had to check my credential, remember, because it's news for some, right? And so one thing this has done is it has democratized our ability to self-authorize. And on some levels, that is really great. And it is really important. And on other levels, it becomes troubling because everybody is racing to be the first one to publish something. Everyone is racing to be the first one to give the news on something. Everyone, I'm gonna say it first. Soon as we find out that somebody has transitioned, We looking for a picture to post saying that we were there. And again, the phenomena of this is that it is of value to document history and to document that we have been in space with folk who have transitioned, that have been leaders, that have been important to us, that we have known, that we have had proximity. It is a personal and collective archive. But at some point, it becomes, to me, it takes over from the ability to value and to reflect and to consider the life of a being, rather than running so that we can show that at one point in time we were next to power. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it. Protecting a legacy is not I'm about to get it for this, Ashe. I'm about to get it for this, but I'm here now. I'm here now. Protecting a legacy is not simply writing about or having disdain for a person's being, or for the belief of a being overlooked. Protecting the legacy means to walk in the ways of that legacy. I don't need to call it out. Distractions. I don't need to call that out. I'm going to just keep preaching truth to power, as this legacy has taught me. Yeah. Because at some point, we got to recognize, friends, we are the choir. You don't need to tell me that was wrong. I know it looked problematic. Listen, can I also tell you the only things that I've watched about Reverend Jackson's funeral were the sound bites that I've been seeing via scrolling. Not because I thought it was too long, not because it did not deserve my attention, because I was out living, being the legacy. Doing the work. Yeah. And for those who had the opportunity to go, thank you for representing us. Those who couldn't, for geographical, for whatever reasons of self-care, for whatever, thank you. And yet I ain't about to spend time on here going back and forth with y'all on this internet about what I think that will probably be in the minority anyway. Because why y'all shocked anyway? Hello. Friends, protecting each other means also protecting your peace. Hello? Protecting your peace. That's why so many are on snooze on my social media. And I hope I'm snoozed and blocked on theirs, because they disturb and distract my peace with their commentary. And I said this last week, commentary that you're not even qualified to comment on. You don't even have enough years, enough time in a game on any level in anything to be an expert on nothing. Sit at the feet of an elder in a listening position. Get knowledge. The other thing with the internet is, while it is good that it has democratized access to knowledge, baby, some of you all now are not fact checking or checking your sources. There are folks that you're following, and people can say, oh, well, that's you, Melva, right? There are folks that you following who haven't sat at the feet of anyone. They're experimenting with your livelihood, experimenting with your spiritual being, experimenting with you off of something they read, not in a book, not from the mouth of an elder, not because they have been apprenticing for 10 years, not because they have been initiated into anything, because the Spirit has spoken to them. No initiatory processes, no guidance. And yet listen, then there are the bots that we can't recognize are bots. Then there is deep fake that we don't recognize as deep fake. And then we get to sharing. Start checking before you have the responsibility before you share something to go check and make sure that this is true, that this is really something that is factual before you start putting this fear into the verse. We have nothing to lose. Nothing but our chains. And friends, I want to tell you that chains come in many forms. Economic chains. A moment of transparency for me. I would usually save this comment like I'm about to make for the clearing, but I'm going to share it here because I think it's necessary. My spouse and I were talking this week just about as our daughters are growing older and one preparing to leave and the other right behind her the following year. And we were talking about credit and money and I can't remember how we got into the conversation. But I was sharing how I never was taught how to use credit, how to use it responsibly. Like I didn't have no one had the conversation with me beforehand. Like, so, hey, this is what you don't do. This is what this means. I don't even think for real, I don't even probably ever recall having I don't even know if I heard the word, except credit cards, of course. But my mom had to have had good credit. She had purchased 3 homes, her first in her late 20s, early 30s, and then a second, and then the one that we lived in before she moved to Florida. And so, yeah, my grandmother, so I didn't, even though I knew we had these homes, we never conversed about this. We never talked about how you could use this as a tool of wealth building. We never talked about life insurance and policies as a tool of wealth building. My grandmother, although we had life insurance and the life insurance, the insurance person, usually a man, insurance man, would come to my grandmother's house monthly to collect the payment. I knew about credit cards because my grandmother had credit cards, baby, and her credit was A1, right? Her credit was A1, and she would say, go ahead and get it on. She would say credit with a K. Put it on the credit or the charge card. We gonna charge, right? But even still, knowing she had good credit, knowing that wasn't the credit part was something I did not quite understand. It wasn't a teaching that was passed down to me. I just knew that she had good credit, and if you buy something on her charge, you needed to pay her before the end of the month so that she could pay her charge card. When I went to college, and if this was, I would love, to just hear your, if this is you, if this was your experience. When I went to college, when I was a first year student at Virginia Union, in the Henderson Center, there were, if you've been to college, usually in the first week or first 2 weeks, they have banks and local community, what you call them, community, what are those called? Credit unions that come and, invite you to open up new accounts. And the banks were there, and there were all of these credit cards. This is predatory. I don't know if they still do this, but it is absolutely predatory. And I signed up and got all of them, honey. All of them. I had them. I had Visa, MasterCard, and then I had the small ones. I had the store ones. I had the learners and the this and the that. And by the time my grandmother found out, because I used my home address, my grandmother said, "Are these charge cards?" I said, "Yes, ma'am." She says, "You spending money on these charge cards?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am." And she said, "You got to pay these charge cards, but this is after I already have them." What am I saying? Now I have these charge cards with no real income, child, except work study, which wasn't enough. And I was charging. You hear what I say? And before I even get a good start in life, my God, today. Yup, Roz, we was in the Hendo together. Before I even get a good start in life, I had already ruined my credit. I hadn't even graduated. Do you hear what I'm saying? Before I even knew what it was. Help me today. This is what systems do. Before I even knew what it was, I had already damaged it. And this, friends, began a kind of economic chain, a noose around my neck that for the entirety of my life has been an ebb and flow of good. Oh, honey, I got it. We on now. We rocking up in these 750s. We rocking. We back down in these 6s. We back up in these. We close to 8. We back down in these 60s. Without knowing and understanding the system. And can I tell us something here? It is a part of a chain that this system clinks on our wrist to make us feel shame because we did not know the teachings and or the workings. And then when we find ourselves shackled and unable to fully participate, preach, Melva, unable to fully participate in what they identify as the American dream, because now we have been X'd out because we don't have what is needed to qualify, yet they knew we wouldn't have it when they came, when they saw, when they were predatory on us, and yet it begins this cycle. Can I help us? Can I help us? Can I help us? Jesus today. Oh my God. This ain't even a part of it. But I want to say, you don't have nothing to lose but your change. I want to say, start today. Start right now. I'm with you. Listen. The economic change is also, I'm so way over time, but the economic chain, friend, is also how we are tied to employers. How we look at entrepreneurs, not in awe, but how we look at entrepreneurs as if somehow they're scammers. And yet those of us, and this is why many entrepreneurs who are always right at the door of success never fully cross the threshold because those of us who are tied to employers gatekeep, and never really pull the trigger, if you will, to aid, to give a contract, to do, because we are threatened by their liberative mindset. I'ma just say what it is, because this is what it is. Hence, when we see those, like my partner, who has been self-employed for for most of his life, we see them not as risk takers who are risking doing the work for the liberation of our people, but we see them as fumblers. We see them as people who are foolish, because why would you do that? And then if we're going to call them foolish, then we must call our own selves foolish, because it is us. It is us who fail to understand and to see that no one is coming to save us. And it is the vision of the entrepreneur who recognizes this, who sees that we were never meant to work for, that working for is a kind of peonage and a kind of slavery. And because we got so wrapped in, and because we got so grateful and so thankful because we integrated, and because we were given the opportunities to be the first and to be the only, Jesus today. And we see them as fools, not as liberators. And for those who partner with them, who move and ebb and flow between honor, between affirmation, and between frustration, I'm telling you, this is a chain that is a part of the system. It is a chain to tell you don't support businesses in your own communities because they are not professional enough. But not only, let me get off that. I'll take that to the clearing. Not only are there economic chains, friends, there are psychological chains. The chains that make us think everybody is against us. And I mean, there are a lot of entities that are. But when we have this mentality then and refuse to do the work, then we close ourselves off to real common unity. We close ourselves and we privatize what we go through. Hence, we suffer in silence. We are on our back decks now, no longer on our front porches. Oh, friends, we hold it in, believing we hold it in for a couple reasons. One, because we don't want to experience the shame, because we've bought the bill of lies that there is a such thing as an American dream. And while I do acknowledge that there are things that we have experienced here that other countries have not, there are more pathways here maybe that other countries are not. But then if acknowledging that, we also got to know how this country has also prevented pathways from happening in other countries because it wants to remain the top power. I want to tell you that this is all psychological distraction. Brian Jones, you better tell the truth and shame. Okay, because we gonna pay Empire full price, but we want the discount and a hookup over here. Yeah. So what I'm asking you all to come to One Love, this is what I can't get, right? Yeah. We have no, we need to lose our chains. One Love Media LLC, is only one of our businesses. A few years ago, my spouse started gifting me LLCs. I actually have 4. Yeah. I only actively use 2, but I actually have 4. On anniversaries, he wasn't gifting me bags. He was gifting me bags. Yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. And when I am saying, or when I am calling, or when I am putting out mutual aid, when I am inviting you to the One Love Festival, it is to break these economic chains, to break these psychological chains, to break these religious chains, to break these political chains, to break the chain, because it's my responsibility. It's our duty. Yeah. So when you rather give your money to X, Y, and Z, it hurts. It hurts me. It hurts me because my question, as is the question of some of you that I'm reading, is what do I need? What more do I need to do to gain your trust, to gain your support? What more do you need to see? How much more do I need to bleed? How much more do I need to risk my life, to risk my own stability, my own financial stability by speaking this truth like this in these streets? What more? What more? But you will pay to go and be and to sit in spaces where you are not aligned and where there is no return for you and or in your community. What more? The powerful chain breakers in our history. Women's History Month. Maria Stewart, Anna Julia Cooper, Sojourner Truth, Rebecca Cox Jackson, Rosa Horn, Claudette Colvin, Diane Nash, Fannie Lou Hamer, Ella Jo Baker, Angela Davis, Elaine Brown, Afeni Shakur, Ramona Africa, Joanne Little, Sister Soldier, Hazel Mack, Ruth Hopkins, and the list can go on. These daughters of thunder did not wait for permission. They broke chains. So where do we go from here? Back to the future. It teaches us that the future is not something that we passively inherit, but the future is something we create. This is what our ancestors dreamed of. They dreamed of us. They imagined a generation that would push freedom further than they could reach. So when Asata says it is our duty to win, she is reminding us that liberation is not inevitable, but liberation is intentional. And beloved, the work before us is clear. Fight for our freedom. Love each other fiercely. Protect one another boldly. And break every chain we find. Because the future is waiting. And it is our duty to win. Ashe, 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 oh, ashe. I invite you to sow, to get, as this is my work, ashe. Every week here, offering, giving, sharing, answering inboxes, answering emails, counseling, being my work, not my 9 to 5, my work, being present. I invite you to offer signs of reciprocity via Venmo, or Cash App, which is Melva L. Sampson. Via Zelle, which is Dr. Melva Sampson at gmail.com. And I thank you in advance. And I'll see y'all next week. God willing, and the creek don't rise. And even if it does, Ashe, I will see you.